Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me. My name is Nate Ross, and this is my new television broadcast here called The Joys of Producing. You know, there was an old television program back in the day called The Joys of Painting. The viewer would follow along with the person on the screen, aka me, and they would do their best to replicate the art being presented in front of them. And today we're going to do the same thing, but with music. One thing that I didn't take into account growing my hair out is that it makes wearing headphones very difficult. Did not think that through at all. Jesus Christ. Sorry, get these cuffed on as best that I can so I can actually hear the frequencies that I'm trying to work with. Alright, so today's going to be a very relaxing day, and I think for the very first episode of this series, you know, the joys of producing, the joys of music production, I would like to match those vibrations. You might notice that I'm semi-pop today, and that's to match the vibe, you know. Bob Ross tends to go full pop a lot of the times, and I figured I would start us off with the semi-pop, so I don't have the chest hair, unfortunately, but you can just go ahead and imagine that it's there, and it can be our little secret. I'm going to make a song, and if you wish to follow along with me, by all means, do so. I will make the song using my own sample library. If I ever come across something that you yourself don't have, you're just going to have to do your best to replicate it. All right, chat. Today, we're going to be making a very nice, relaxing beat. I don't want to create anything too ecstatic today. As we ease in to a new journey here, I do want to throw a disclaimer out there. It's a beautiful day to make some music. Here's we have our first caller in here saying, what the f is that thing on your head, Nate? I'm glad you asked. What this is years of knowledge, things I wish to share with you. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and open up Splice. I'm sorry. I'm going to go ahead and grab my, what the f is the thing called that you have the paint on? I'm just going to go ahead and open up my palette here. For today, I'm going to keep things very light, very calm. We're probably going to make something in the lo-fi range. I know I did this recently during a hurricane, and it took quite a different direction. But today there's no hurricane. It's a beautiful sunny day outside. The birds actually it's probably too hot for them, so I don't even think that they're cooling off somewhere in the shade. But I'm gonna just go ahead and search lo-fi. If you have Splice, you can go ahead and follow along and do the same. And if you don't worry. We're not gonna get anything too crazy. So I think we're gonna start our song off today by just getting a nice vinyl cracking ambience. For our tempo, we're just gonna go ahead and adjust this to a nice 160 beats per minute, because we don't want to go too fast and we don't want to go too slow. So what you're going to want to do is, you know, just find anywhere in your vinyl ambience to cut a part of it, either stretch it out or shorten it, just so you can get a nice loop. If you happen to cut your vinyl in a part where there is, you know, some very sharp transients, what you can do is just go ahead and double click your sample and change your declicking mode to generic parentheses bleeding. That way, when you repeat the sample, there won't be any harsh cuts. If you're in Ableton, there's a simple way that you can do the exact same thing. Probably. Actually, I don't know. If you're in Ableton, we're going to go ahead and just repeat that for a nice 8 bars to start off. Listen to how we're sounding so far. See, the way the vinyl crackles is reminiscent of fall leaves on a crisp walk through the park in a brisk, cool October morning. And that's exactly what we want, even though it's August and it's about 106 degrees outside right now. So next up, we're going to want to establish a key. What we need to do is go to Google some shit. Eventually you'll find something like this. Now I defaulted to E flat minor, but I think I'm going to hit roll again. You know, I'll go B flat major. You know, I do like to adventure out into scales and keys that I don't normally find myself comfortable with, especially when I'm teaching a class. Now, what I'm going to need you to do is find any type of piano or synth plugin, whatever you use to create a nice piano. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open up Piano V3, which is a great little piano plugin. Now what you're going to want to do is go into your piano roll and remember the key I remember. The question is, do you? Because I remember that it was B flat major. Now, if you have a MIDI device, what I like to do is sort of dust it off a little bit beforehand. So I just go ahead and give it a nice little dust like that. And you know what? I've decided that we're not going to be working in B flat. I'm going to be honest. And I just think that would be a terrible idea. So we're not going to do that. Instead, we're going to go over to D. Now, if you have your piano roll open, I want you to place a note right here on D5. I'm going to take everything about that back and instead make you go to D4, because we want that first note to be kind of a lower tone. In your piano roll, if you hold Control and then press the down arrow, it'll just jump your note directly down. And if you're in Ableton, music production is all about trial and error, seeing what sounds good, seeing what you like. And what we're going to do is place in our pattern here. So right here, we have the D note, we have the F sharp, we have the G, and we have the A. And then right here on the F sharp, and that first D note that I placed, we're just going to go ahead and get rid of that. And now we have a brief little melody. You can go ahead and copy that, and you can hold down the Shift key. And then when you drag it over, it'll copy everything that you have selected. And if you're in Ableton, I'm going to go ahead and do that twice. So we have 4 bars. Let's go ahead and listen to how that sounds. And we're going to take this, and we're going to place it on our playlist. So what I've done here is I've created a 16-bar intro using the piano as kind of the driving melody. Now, what I like to do is I like to go ahead and put the piano on its own channel in the mixer. We're going to do that by clicking the piano, pressing F9 to get to the mixer, clicking Insert 1, right-clicking, going to Channel Routing, and routing the selected channel to that track. Now, it's on its own mixer track, and we can do whatever we want with it. And I think it would be really fun to make it so you can barely even hear it. And I'm going to do that by washing it out with even more reverb. I'm going to go and insert Fruity Reverb 2. And what I'm going to do is just increase the decay. And I'm going to low cut it. And I'm going to decrease the dry. And I'm going to increase the wet. Right here next to our Fruity Reverb plugin, we have the dry wet of the entire plugin itself. And I'm going to automate that in order to slowly fade it out. We're just going to bring it slightly down so that by the time the 16-bar intro is over, the reverb is completely gone. And we can play it back and see how it sounds. We have our next "This Sounds Like" in the chat already. I'm going to say this in the most respectful way that I can, but we can't turn this into a "This Sounds Like This" stream. Music has existed for 250. Things are bound to sound similar eventually because you can't reinvent music every single time you write a melody. So if you do, then it's going to be like, oh, this sounds like this. Well, yeah, it probably was, okay? It probably was. It probably was. So what we want to do is fill up the space of the intro by kind of surrounding the listener's ear through ambient effects. One way that you can get ambience into your song is by adding ambience. I have one question for you, Mr. Ross. Do we use Portal on this project? We will not be putting Portal on our chill lo-fi beat today. No. I'm going to go ahead and do D5, and I'm going to extend this 16 bars. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to create what is called a low-pass filter. And I'm going to go ahead and click on this blue number 7 right here. I'm going to right-click, I'm going to go to Type, and I'm going to click Low-Pass. I'm going to push it all the way to the top, and then I'm going to automate the movement. Now, I can take this and just sort of drag it down. The string will slowly embrace and present itself as the piano does the same. We've established a key, a melody, as well as a vibration. What we need to do next is transition. For a successful transition, I like to use what is called a swell, which is essentially any kind of symbol or impact that approaches and then releases. Now for this, you can use whatever you'd like. I'll go search swell. You'll notice there's several to choose from in the Eliminate Cybertrap Volume 1 sample pack, which is available on Splice. It's been available on Splice for several years now. If you didn't know about it, maybe you didn't know, maybe you just discovered me and you're like, oh, this guy has samples, that's cool. I'll probably go on splice.com and see if they're any good. And then you'll be like, wow, these are really good. And then you might download them and check them out, even though like it's, I know the sample pack's really old and I haven't released another one yet. I'm still working on another one, but like in the meantime, you can still go with this one if you haven't checked it out yet. Great. Just something to transition your song from point A to point B. What we need to do now is introduce our drums. Each drum arrangement can contain several different percussive elements: a kick, a snare, a hi-hat, a crash, a shaker, some ambient Foley. You may use any kick drum that you like. Oh my God, I knocked the coffee over. That's fine. It's just got a lid on it. Oh, no. You just need to find any kick drum that you would feel comfortable using. That's really nice. I'm going to go ahead and use this one. I'm just going to go ahead and cut it right there, and maybe I'm also going to introduce the element of sidechaining now. There are several ways to sidechain. You may choose any one that you are comfortable with. Step 1 for me is I create a dedicated sidechain channel on the mixer, and I make sure to spell the word sidechain incorrectly. And I'm just going to go ahead and automate that and create a nice little sidechain curve down here. We can go ahead and leave that there and So what I like to do is I like to take the intro melody that I crafted or created, and I kind of like to build upon it. So I'm going to just go ahead and double click this and reopen our piano roll, and I'm going to copy our pattern. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make nothing. I'm going to use a preset. What I like to do is go through a myriad of different synthesizers and find something that I like. You know, I really like this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open my piano roll. I'm going to just go ahead and copy my MIDI arrangement in here. What I'm going to do with this is put even more EQing on it. A very hard cut. By doing that, you can notice there's not such a harsh click or dramatic change as the notes dance along the piano roll. It softens it up quite a bit. What I can do is make sure I also put this on our newly developed sidechain channel. And now we should have a kick transitioned into our new melody. So you'll also notice this kick drum sounds like I'm just going to go ahead and fade it out a little bit. We need to finish our drum beat. In order to do that, I'm going to find a snare drum. Now what you're going to want to do is spend the next 2 to 3 hours searching for a snare. Something that might help here is if you put lo-fi in the name of the snare that you're looking for. I'm just going to go ahead and take something like this, and I'm going to start placing our snare down here. And you'll notice with the addition of a snare drum, the song begins to spread its wings. This next part is going to be very complicated. All I ask is that you do your best to follow along. What we need is a hi-hat. Now, hi-hats are one of the most complex parts of producing. And just, until you have a very complex and incredible arrangement that not many people are able to achieve. Go ahead and listen. Now, what you'll notice here is that this hat is pretty loud. Now that we have a basic drum arrangement, or should I say a very complex drum arrangement. Now what you need to do when forming these kinds of complex melodies is make sure that you have your bass layer covered. And I literally mean the bass, the lower frequencies, the bass line. What I need you to do now is take any kind of saw bass, super saw, pad, whatever you can get your hands on. And we just want something that covers a nice low, warm, rumbly feeling. For this, I'm going to be using Serum, unknown underground VST. So I understand if maybe you've never heard of it. And I'm just going to go ahead and search saw. God damn it. You know, a nice, thick, super saw with a lot of white noise. What I'm going to do is just get rid of all that white noise. Instead of turning the actual white noise off, I'm just going to low pass it. So what I want to do is begin the dance between the top melody and our saw melody. Now that we've established frequencies and the resonances, we can play around with this bass line to more fit our needs. So one nice thing that we can do is perhaps instead of starting on our root note, we can start a few steps below that. Let's see how that sounds. It sounds... Don't do that. Try something else. Okay, so what we want to do is make sure that this D note follows whatever pattern our bass line is going in. Now, I kind of liked the hint of B, the hint of, so I'm going to go ahead and drop this down to B, and I'm going to do the same with our bass line. Maybe it'll sound good, maybe it won't. That is just one of the many joys of production. And that's just one of the many joys of producing. This is good. We're going to go from our B down to a G, which will then bring us home to the D. Rather than starting on the root note, we create an even longer, more emotional journey to get back to that. And what we can do for the last 4 bars of this 8-bar phrase, extend the root note so that the D fills that space up. You'll have to excuse me, I was feeling myself. What we can do here is begin to follow the pattern of the bass. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this. And from B, we're going to go down to G, and then we're going to go right down back to D. And in doing so, we've expanded upon our intro. Rather than copying and pasting, we've instead inspired and created. Simply magnificent. This song is becoming very complex, as you can see. So what we need to do now is fill out our drum arrangement. And our snare is already in place. Our hi-hat's already in place. What we do need to put in place is our kick drum. Let's go ahead and just randomly place some kicks down and hope that they sound good. I'm quite fond of that. I'm going to copy this entire thing over. what we can do here is we can create some alterations. For the last phrase of the second 16 bars, we can perhaps alter our bass line a little bit. And it can go from D to F. I'm sorry, G. I'm sorry, A. I'm sorry, B. Wait, no, C. No, G. Wait, replace the D with an A. And what this will do is it will create a more finishing feel of the progression that sort of got left hanging on the first 8 bars. Or 16 bars, or whatever long it is. I don't remember. Another important thing that we have to do here is we need to change our arrangement of the main melody. Just for this last section here. Let's take our D and just bring it up to an A. And I think we're also going to want to take the F down to an E and basically bring everything down either 1 or 2 semitones. So it's going to turn into an A to an E to an F sharp to a G. Actually, no, never mind. So it'll go from an A to an E to a C sharp to a D to an A to an E to a C sharp to a D. No, to an A. Yep. And there you have it. Even though we have this nice lower layer occupied here by our low pass super saw, what we want to do is go ahead and create a whole new pattern of strictly just a nice warm sub bass. Real nice warm sub bass. I'm going to go ahead and paste this in here. Now, one thing you're going to want to be careful of is the volume of your sub bass. Go ahead and put that on its own channel as well. Now I'm just going to I'm going to preemptively turn that down just a little bit, and I'm going to put it on the side chain as well. And you can go ahead and move that down to maybe around, 90 to 100 milliseconds. And what should happen is you'll get a nice, brief gliding effect. Go ahead and put that right on your beat like that. A very important step here is to make sure that your sub frequencies are not clashing with that of your super saw Reese in the most professional terms that I could possibly think of. Just sort of mess around with the volume and equalize that. Sure that nothing's like kind of the other one, because if it is, then you're gonna have a bit of a clashing issue. Battle of the lower frequencies or something. I treat it like a cage match where, like, if the sub comes in, it's like big swinging all over the place, and then your Reese bass also has a big giant enormous swinging everywhere, and then if they get sort of in a bit of a fighting situation, it can create a certain muddiness in your mix that we like to try and avoid that around here. In order to progress the song in the direction that we do want to take it in is, when I'm going for this set of vibrations here, I don't want to advance too quickly. I like to move slowly. And in order to start layering our track to create a sense of progression, we want to do that gradually rather than, kind of a hard cut. So what we're going to go ahead and do here is we're going to copy our whole entire, I'm just going to call this, the main section. We'll just do that. And one way to create tension is you can take your main melody here and you can make this pattern unique. You can open up your piano roll, you can hold down Control and press the up key. Now this is going to play at a higher octave than it was before. Exhibit A. And what you want to do is you want to make sure that you do that for the entire phrase of the second half here. So I'm going to do the same thing here for pattern 5. I'm going to make unique. I'm going to open up the piano roll, Control up, keep that thing a higher octave. Keep that tucked in there. What we're going to do to progress the song is we're just going to find any kind of ambience or sound of maybe some neighborhood dogs barking. As soon as that octave switches up on the ARP here, we'll introduce the dog. And I think rather than having a totally dry dog, what we'll do is we'll just maybe sort of reverb him out a little bit. Just add a slight amount, a little bit of wet. Doesn't have to be a lot. Another thing is children laughing. Perhaps it'll take you back to playing outside in the neighborhood. Pick whichever one you like. This can be a bit of a wild card. You take whatever children laughing sound effect that you would like, and you just go ahead and put it kind of intertwined with the dogs. And I'm going to stretch it out a lot so that it sounds funny. Beautiful. What we can do now is introduce an open hat. So let's go ahead and just find any old open hat that you like. And rather than layering it, I'm going to put it in between the other ones. So our hat pattern is going to become twice as fast. And when you do this, you make sure you take that second hat and you just turn it, entirely the down. Okay, just all the because it can't be louder. It's got to be much quieter. I'm going to copy and paste that. It sounds like this. So now that we have, a bit of a progression, what we got to do is we have to add some kind of big lead here. So what you need to do, find something that will really take your song from a 2 to a 3. Go down here to the synthwave section, and we're just going to browse. And what we like to do is just preemptively cut out some lower frequencies that we know that we're not going to need. And in order to get these chords right, what we can do is we can begin by just copying our bass line, and it'll be easier to form the rest of the chords. Copy these and bring them 2 octaves up. So like this. And then here's where we can start stacking our chords. Very nice. And you just sort of hit the notes around until you think that they sound good. For our first chord stack, we have B, D, F sharp. The second one, we have G, B, D. And the third one, we have D, F sharp, A, and D. And then the last one here, remember, we cut half of the D off. So the last chord should be E, A, C sharp. Our chords are quite low passed because what we're going to do is we're going to open that up as the song continues. Here's where we can create our automation. We'll go ahead and do that right here. And these things are just kind of slowly come up to full force. Now for this next part, what I need you to do is just copy the whole thing, meaning these last two sections. And we're going to transition right back into the beginning starter points of the drum beat. Only we're going to take out the first 4 bars of the drums as well as the low saw and the low sub. This has got to be like a Timbaland song or something, right? What we're going to do here is we're just going to create an outro. And in order to create an outro, you just copy the song, first part of the song, and you fade it out. One thing that I will change is I'll copy our chords and I'll go ahead and put them in the piano. It'll be brilliant. I'm also going to put a little extra reverb on here and just kind of crank that up and then boom. Call it good, you know. And then, you know, fade the song out. I'll just go ahead and put the master, kind of automate the volume of that, and we'll just sort of paste that right there and then sort of bring it down a little bit. I'm also going to put a reverb on the master because why not, you know. Turn the dry all the way down, the wet all the way up, turn that low cut on, turn that off, so then I can just go ahead and be like, boom, boom, fade it out, and the song will just sort of end. And now what you've done is you've created perhaps your first lo-fi song, and that's something to be really proud of. I think you did a great job, and if you didn't, do a good job. And that's job done. Here's like a genuine question. I don't even know if anyone actually followed along. I want to listen back and see who got it closest. Maybe no one, maybe someone. That was 2 hours of streaming to make a song I could have made in 8 minutes. That gets a 10 out of 10 from me already, and that's the first one. You're making me real nervous with this waveform right now, though. Okay, that's fine. That's no big deal. The sub pitch automation kind of caught me off guard. Let's paint several little happy trees and push. Look at there. The added voice samples of the OG Ross was a very nice touch. All right, this song's just called Sorry. I don't know if that's any cause for concern, but let's check it out. You guys ever felt like that feeling when you really trusted someone and you put your whole trust hussy? You really trusted someone and then you get blindsided because they turned out to be a completely different person than you thought they were. This is very close. Damn, even like did the same reverb technique, which is impressive considering I did all this in like 12 seconds. You know, as far as like the original purpose, which is try and recreate exactly what I'm doing as close as you possibly can, that was really good. It's that like 80s prom night type of chord stab there, you know, like a lot of character, a lot of personality in those stabs. What do you guys think? As far as accuracy here, you know, I think I'm about as like accurate as I could get. Dude, if I just did this. Oh. Bro, that's crazy. That's like almost the same song. That's like probably, this might be the closest one. Have you finally broken? Oh shit. No. So this is really close. This is really good. If you comparatively speaking, put them, you know, A, B side by side, this is very close. The pluck. So the pluck, you almost had it. You did change the note, but it's not following the note of the low reese or the low saw, whatever it is. I hear some birds. Some kids playing. Is that a chainsaw? What was that? What was that noise? I'm sure everyone in that scenario is perfectly okay. Let's continue. That's a scary laugh. That is a scary laugh. Oh, was that the actual Friday? That's the actual Freddy Friday? 5 Nights at Freddy's, dude. God, not Fred. There's 0 Fridays involved. It's just 5 nights. There was no section for a build-up, so I'm not quite sure what you're doing here. Do you raise your hand when the class is getting dismissed and say, what about the homework? Oh, weren't we supposed to turn this in? Oh, wait, what? Oh, that assignment that we had over the weekend? Don't forget. Oh, God. Literally a split second. There's context behind the audio that you're about to hear. Oh, dude. Oh, yeah. I'm gonna mute myself too. I'll be back in a minute, guys.
No, what was that?